Hello, this is Steve David Kozich, Chief Spiritual Officer for the Lovemakers Foundation, a 501c3 spiritual charity whose purpose is to bring love to the world, whose purpose is to bring love to each and every heart on this planet. It's a big task, but Deborah and I are here with our board and all of our love makers to bring love to this world through our writings, through our examples, and through just radiating a high frequency of love to everyone we're in contact with. Today's love message is create the alchemy of love, transform your life. Last week I discussed the alchemy of love. That is turning your life into love and then turning that love into a transformation. Of course, the alchemy is turning regular metals into gold. And we talked a little bit about that last week. But this week, we're going to talk about how do you actually use love to transform your life, to make your life the life that you want to have, to eliminate fear in your life, to always be joyful no matter what the circumstance. That's what we're going to discuss today. And the real alchemy is the transformation of the self, of the soul. And love, in its highest form, is the fire that burns away illusion, the light that reveals our true nature. As Martin Luther King wrote, love is the only thing that can turn an enemy into a friend. And it's true. It's a complete reversal of a negative paradigm into a positive paradigm. In society, we're in a fear materialistic paradigm. Where is that getting the world? We want to turn that and transform that paradigm into love. Today I'm going to discuss the spiritual integration, the love spiritual integration technique. Two great religious leaders who used that technique were Jesus Christ and the Buddha. And we'll discuss that here in a second, but let's look at the life of the Buddha. There was a guy who had a sort of a vision and went out searching to become enlightened. And searching. He tried everything from starving yourself and being an ascetic to meditation to prayer, whatever it was. And then one day he found a Bodhi tree, sat underneath, and after coming to internal realizations, became enlightened. Jesus, I think according to the Bible, was ordained to deliver that message of absolute love and to communicate directly with God. But he still underwent transformation through love. The 40 days and 40 nights. What he really discovered is absolute love and that connection with the Father, with that connection to God. And that's what all of us can do. We can transform ourselves using this spiritual integration technique. Now, what it includes is two things. Number one, learning to merge deductive learning with inductive learning. Deductive learning begins with a universal thought. And that universal thought can be a core principle that you believe. And I would say use a core principle having to do with your highest self or a core principle having to do with absolute love. Typical core principles would be I am absolute love. I love that one. I am Christ consciousness. God is love. Those are certain core principles that you would base your values on. And then you would do a lot of reading, a lot of studying. And then you would ask yourself, am I acting like that? And try and make your actions, your thoughts, your speech correspond to that general principle. It may be you want to follow the great commandment. That'd be tremendous. That the great commandment, of course, is love God with everything you've got. And secondly, love your neighbor as yourself. And those, if you follow that principle and developed your life around that principle, You would go towards becoming absolute love. You would go towards becoming closer to God. Now, that's deductive learning, taking a major principle and developing it through actions, thoughts, theories, and asking the questions if you're aligning with your core principles. And you can use a lot of study. Now, the other way, another type of learning is inductive learning. And what happens, it begins with observation, the experience of stories. But really what it comes down to is just starting to think, act, and speak in love. Just do it. There's no organization. You're just doing that. Now, as a person, I always like that tidiness of deductive learning. You have the broad principle, then fit everything into it. But what I have found is that praying, being grateful, distilling truth through your experience, practicing gratitude, and also make sure you do it alone. And that's what Jesus demonstrated. He healed. He taught. He sacrificed his life on the cross. He just did stuff. That's why his message is so powerful. He did things. He had miracles. He had the 5,000 loaves. He did stuff. And that's what I want you to do. Do things that generate absolute love. Become on that path of absolute love. Think love. Be love. Be gracious. Be kind. Be compassionate. Be courageous. And that love, and what you're going to find is, and what you're supposed to do is use both of these types of learning. And at some point, they're going to mesh. And you're going to transform. And you will transform eventually into absolute love, and it will just happen. With the great spiritual leaders who have become enlightened, Jesus, Buddha, Maharshi, Yogananda, and I could mention many more. But what happened? At some point through their study, but mostly through their actions, thoughts, and practices, they became great. Look at Gandhi. He became great by starving himself literally for his principles. Because it's that activity, that action, and when that closes down and connects with your greatest thoughts, transformation happens. And you will know that you are love. You will understand and feel that you are love. You will become love. But some of it I would recommend, you need to be alone a little bit. Be alone. Observe yourself. Observe love. Think love. Be love. Pray. Meditate. Contemplate love. But do it by yourself. And then when you're out there in the world, let your actions demonstrate love all the time. I'm going to leave you with an exercise that I have found been very profound. I think it modifies an exercise by Louise Hay, one of the great metaphysical writers of all time. And it's called the mirror meditation. It's very simple. The practice is simple but profound. You look in a mirror and you gaze at yourself. You can either sit or stand. And you look at your own eyes and observe yourself for a few seconds. And then you speak the words, I see love. I am love. And then say, I am absolute love. That's it. That's it. That's all you have to do. But do it every day. Every morning when you wake up, every night when you go to bed. Do it for at least 21 days. And I guarantee you'll see transformation. This will change you. But you have to practice it daily, 21 days in a row, in the morning and at night. Do it. And you'll see what I mean. Dear God, know this moment that I have fused, and we have fused our consciousnesses together with love so that all is love. And I know this moment, and we know this moment that we have become love, that we are love, And this love radiates the power, the courage of love each and every moment of our lives. We humbly thank you for the awareness that love is all that there is, that love and the power of love is now, and that we are love, and that this love manifests in our life in every areas of our life now. We recognize and realize your power, God, and know that your love radiates and penetrates us and is us this moment and for each moment forevermore. We humbly thank you and release these words as absolute truth into the universe. So it is so. Amen. So this weekend, get some time alone, and then let your outside activities just become and just be love. That's it. It's that simple. That's all you have to do. But remember that let all you be done in love. Love is the way, and become love. So have a great weekend, and know that love is the way.